Out of all the years you've been doing your show and all the years you've been giving advice, how did this catch me outside girl? How did this happen?
Oh, God. It's my moment of infamy.
Catch me outside, how about that? I really want to get my whole story out there and let everything just be out. Traumatized by it. Even the ones that weren't there were traumatized by it.
What are your responses to her?
If she had a bad experience, obviously I would hate that.
In a small town just south of Salt Lake City, there's a residential treatment center for troubled teenagers ages 13 to 17. The Turnabout Ranch.
The school has helped me by definitely raising my average, raising my GPA.
Creative writing, horsemanship, and culinary that all of our students are required to take.
Operating on a real working cattle ranch, the teens live and work on the farm, where they can learn about concepts like leadership and taking accountability.
I really like to see the kids find ways to meet their challenges, and that's what we do here.
Their website states, quote, "They will work hard. They will be given a physical outlet. They will be held accountable." But accountability goes both ways.
Send her to the ranch. You sit down and talk to me, you answer my questions or you don't. But I'm not going to tell you what I want to tell you. I'll tell you what I want you to know. That's what you get to hear.
These people are so fucking evil.
After appearing as an out-of-control kid on a 2016 episode of The Dr. Phil Show,
She'll go after me.
God, bitch!
Bad Baby, or Danielle Bregoli, was sent to Turnabout Ranch.
Here you have expectations. If you say something, you're gonna get trouble right on. You're not gonna have chances. I didn't know how to ride a horse at all. I thought that you held the reins like this. So he thinks he's the chief. I guess it's because he's little and he thinks he runs stuff.
In a YouTube video called Breaking Code Silence, Bregoli details at length the specifics of the abuse she endured during her time at Turnabout.
So part of the whole Dr. Phil show is they send these kids to either Turnabout or these other programs that are also in Utah, but they're all wilderness programs and they're all fucked up. For the first 3 days you're there, there's no showering. They put you in a circle, which is it's a teepee. It's a little teepee, but it's open. And you have to sit there for 3 days. They strip you from your whole personality. You have to act like just whoever they want you to act like.
Bregoli goes on to describe a horrific experience during her stay, which included being deprived of sleep and being subjected to freezing temperatures.
They had no problem holding kids down, which is against the law. You're not supposed to touch the kids, but they had no problem doing that. I seen a kid get held down for trying to leave. Just honestly, I don't think he was trying to run away. I think he was just trying to walk out the door and just get some time to himself, and they restrained him, they held him down. One of the kids, he had tried to steal a car or something. Everyone was screaming on the walkies like it was really crazy, and he ended up killing one of the staff members. They made all the kids that were at Roundy come down, and then they told us not to tell us anything. A day later, they have us all, every kid that's at Turnabout, they have us all in a circle, and they're like, listen, there was an incident, I know some of y'all heard it over the walkies, Jimmy died.
The event which sparked Bregoli to speak out occurred after the American rapper saw one of her fellow students at Turnabout Ranch, Hannah Arculeta, on the news.
We think it is long overdue for Turnabout Ranch to be held accountable for what happened to Hannah.
The 19-year-old says she was sexually assaulted by a staff member, then punished for reporting it.
At the ranch, I was alone and isolated from all of my family. If you or anyone you know has suffered sexual assault or child abuse or retaliation at any of these so-called ranches or wilderness programs, please report it. No child should suffer abuse, and no child should ever be sent to these ranches.
When I seen the punishment she was given, I knew okay, I really have to say something. I really have to have her back on this, because I truly believe that they did that.
And the weight of Bregoli's testimony here is directed toward one man.
So, Dr. Phil, I'm going to give you from now till April 5th to issue an apology, not only to me, but to Hannah and any other child that you sent to Turnabout or any other program like this. And if you don't, I'm gonna handle things my way.
Dr. Phil's show is exploitative. One struggles to find any redeeming quality about the program because of how relentless it displays mental illness as something unique and does so in a facile, simplistic way. It should be no surprise, then, that the same man who profits off the mentally ill sends children to a treatment facility who claim to have been sexually abused and tortured. And it's worth noting that these are only the survivors who have come forward. In abuse case scenarios, there's almost always more victims, too fearful to tell their stories. And as it pertains to Dr. Phil, with the exploitative ethics of his program aside, one wonders how shocked he must be regarding the apparent social power of Bregoli's testimony. Bregoli's video on Dr. Phil has garnered over 6 million views, forcing Dr. Phil to publicly respond in an orchestrated softball interview.
So Phil, I'm reading the New York Post this weekend. I open up this story about a teen rapper named Bad Bobby, B-H-A. She says that I was on his show 5 years ago and they were abusive at this boot camp.
Well, she went to Turnabout 4 or 5 years ago, and she had a bad experience. Obviously I would hate that. We'd be sorry about that, but we don't have anything to do with what happens with guests once they leave the stage.
Look, when we were kids, we got the strap, we got the brush. If you were at school, you might have had to put your hands out and you'd get the ruler. So That's coming up after the break. And I also want to talk to you a little bit about Oprah.
Bregoli has not posted a video related to the topic since her response to Dr. Phil's interview, uploaded over a month ago. One wonders where this story will go next. Until then, I think it's worth taking a closer look at the elite celebrity who surround Dr. Phil and their attempts to conceal their philanthropic scandals.
There really is the spirit of Ubuntu here. Because of you, I am. The sense of every girl being for her sister. And there is that wonderful feeling of when one succeeds, we all succeed.
In its first year, Oprah's South African School for Girls was getting inundated with reports.
I wasn't sure what had happened, but there was a suspicion on the part of the girls of some type of sexual abuse.
But if you want the full story, it's difficult to find. The sources on Wikipedia, which allegedly include the children's testimony from Reuters and Time magazine, have been removed. Time magazine does allow access to the article, but only through an archive. What we do know is that 9 girls testified against Virginia Makapo for what they claimed was repeated sexual abuse. 9! But shortly after, Makapo was acquitted of all charges. A South African reporter told Access Hollywood, quote, "There is definitely potential for a cover-up." In 2011, ABC News reported that a dead baby was found in Oprah's school. You heard that right, a dead baby. But if you want more information on this, you're out of luck, because many of the links ABC provided in this story lead nowhere. If you've seen any of the previous volumes in this series, you're aware of the horror of John of God.
Horrific allegations of baby trafficking and murder have also surfaced in a case that's sending shockwaves around the world.
He took it a step further. He penetrated me from behind. I can't even describe it.
After Zahira's bombshell interview on Brazilian television, authorities were reportedly contacted by more than 600 accusers, ranging in age from 9 to 67, who claim they were sexually abused by the so-called miracle worker. Faria's accusers include his own daughter, who says her father sexually abused her between the ages of 10 and 14. For more than 50 years, Faria has led a spiritual center in rural Brazil, where he claims millions have flocked for his spiritual guidance or healing. From eye scrapings and evasive nose probings to incisions in the skin, John of God has performed countless unlicensed surgical procedures, seemingly with no anesthesia, on enraptured followers.
The journalist who broke the story, Sabrina Bittencourt, alleged that John of God was running giant human farms, where women were imprisoned inside of barns, birthing babies to be sold onto the black market. Bittencourt claimed John of God was part of a global child trafficking network involving some of the wealthiest people and groups in the world. She claimed the operation was international in scope. Who then was the person responsible for growing John of God's following by tenfold during his reign?
We have different colors in our aura.
So human energy looks like colors?
Yes. Various different colors.
What does something like cancer look like when you see inside?
Quando vê aranha,
Que sendo da vontade de Deus, não.
when he sees cancer,
Deus é sobre todas as coisas.
he starts asking that this be taken away, be removed, as being God's will.
An endorsement from Oprah Winfrey is equivalent to critical gold in America. Her interview with John of God almost certainly resulted in thousands upon thousands, more men, women, and children flocking to his depraved location to partake in his, quote, surgeries.
How is this taking place without blood loss? And how are people not screaming their heads off when he inserts the needle doing the stitching and making the incisions?
Mark came from California, not because of any illness, but looking for proof of the existence of God.
I felt cold steel going up, and then I felt him just shove it with all his strength. And I felt excruciating pain. I felt just so calm. And even when I had the thought, he's in your brain, which is what my thought was, and I saw yellow, bright yellow, and I got this bitter taste in my mouth as I had the thought, he's in your brain.
Oprah Winfrey considered John of God, quote, an inspiration. In a time with so much useless information, it's never been easier for the rich and powerful to hide their scandals. Combine this with the ability for elites like Dr. Phil and Oprah to ensure the media quashes any story painting them in a questionable light, and you have the epitome of unquestioned power. While it's true that with the continuation of relentless censorship, one can lose hope that any kind of significant change will be made. But in my view, despite the odds being so stacked against us, the day will come when more eyes and ears begin to pay attention to stories like these. If only we continue to make them and share them. And if only those who appear to be within these elite groups continue to speak out.
Truth is not a given.
Vaccine, GMOs,
Jeffrey Epstein,
UFOs.
Splash. Mark bearing and range.
There are those who want the truth suppressed, sequestered, and exploited. Then there are those who want the truth revealed, disseminated, and uncensored. You are one of those people.
Chester Bennington. He was 41 years old and the artist was found dead.
I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Hundreds of abusive clergy.
It was unidentified, and that's why it was so unsettling.
You deserve the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.